Yo guys, what is up? Welcome back to brand spanking new video, and today, we're gonna be doing a little mukbang, I guess. We did get more stuff for it, but we ate both these bags of chips that we got, like, pretty much immediately. I mean, there's, like, little crumbs in them. But from what we have left, we got some energy drinks. We have these, cookies that we were gonna make. Peanut butter cookies, and we bought these Takis Explosion. By the way, if you don't know who I'm talking about, Rebel, of course, Rebel's Nation. But this should be a pretty reasonably fun video to make. So I'll see you guys maybe during the process of making the food, or just when the food is done.
It's like, reality is a good thing, and your expectations is a shitty thing. Should we watch?
Okay, those are the best videos to watch when you're eating.
Dude, they are.
Or actually, the best videos to watch are animated ones.
I still remember this as a vivid memory in my brain that would never get erased. One day, I was at a club with a few friends. I saw a cute girl, which was totally my type at first glance. She had blonde hair and deep brown eyes. Her nose was tiny and cute. Her lips were red like a rose. I approached her and I asked if she wanted a drink or something. A dead body of a boy around my age, mutilated, was lying in the bathtub obliquely. As I got closer, I realized that his right leg was cut off too. I was freaked out. I wanted to scream, but it didn't come out. But I decided not to go outside, because she might be a psychopath killer and could kill me too. I tried to find an escape.
Really? A body
Then I spotted something that I wasn't expecting. A small pocket knife stuck out from his jean pocket. I cautiously took the knife and flicked the door open.
Why wouldn't he kill her?
There was no one outside, and only that girl was sitting on the steps.
She sawed his ass.
I asked her what was in the bathtub, and suddenly, her expression got different. She flashed a maniac grin, and then she took out something from her back. A knife.
It was a knife!
All of a sudden, she lunged toward me, but I dodged it. I took out my knife and swung around as soon as she came to me, and kicked her. She let out a scream, and she fell to the ground. I heard some noise upstairs, but I wasn't going to check that out.
Bitch,
I sprinted out the door and ran 2 blocks straight without stopping, and then called the cops.
And then he's like,
The cops searched the whole house and arrested 3 people, all charged for murdering innocent young boys. Then I took a cab back to my house. I called and told my parents about this incident. I wasn't able to sleep that night at all. This was the scariest I've ever experienced. And who knew what would have happened if I didn't find that knife?
My mom used to work as a taxi driver, and she started to go out with one of her coworkers. Let's call him Larry, for the sake of the story. He seemed like a nice guy at first.
Bro, his head's too small. He's
Finally,
terrifying.
they got married and
Dude,
had a
no
daughter,
person call you.
and we will call her Ruby. But once they got married, things started to change immediately. He was not a nice guy after all. If something didn't go his way, he always ran to his mom's house. Because in her mind, he was still her baby, even though he was a 50-year-old man. He was such a mama's boy.
Jesus.
Mom and Larry would break up and make up a lot, so that was just normal behavior. But when he got drunk, sometimes we didn't let him inside the house, as he can become a violent person. He'd break in by smashing a window to get in on occasion. Well, he would not hurt us, but broke things like a TV or a family member's computer, which made us terrified. The final straw was when he came into our house one day. He kidnapped Ruby and ran away for 2 days until the police arrested him and brought Ruby back home, even though Larry was her dad. Mom was literally traumatized by this incident. We decided to move out of our house, and it was a great idea to move away from him at a safe distance. We had none of his belongings, so he had no reason to come crawling back to us. So we moved out, and as time went by, we settled into the new house. We all started school, and I always woke up extra early to shower and play video games before I went to school.
Bruh.
But this one day, when I woke up at 4 a.m. and finished taking a shower, I came out of the bathroom and looked out of the window unintentionally. It was still dark.
Oh God, it's
And there
Thunder
was a man who was walking
What's wrong
up
with his
and down the
knees?
path by the side of our house.
Dislocated. Let's get shadows just look
Suddenly,
weird.
he looked up and stared at me. He realized that I saw him. I stood there and did nothing. Then he walked away.
We officially finished eating pizza rolls, you know, 'cause it'd be like that sometimes. Now, Michael dropped his burger. Michael. Awful. Yeah, he dropped it right in the litter, guys. It's time for the brownie section.
If I would have just left the mall when I felt uneasy, I could have possibly avoided this entire series of events.
Yeah, dude, it's over. Loser.
File at H&R Block, and you could get a refund advance up to $3,500 within minutes.
Did you say
This
money
man's
in
trying
minutes?
whipped cream on his
Yeah.
freaking brownie.
Money in minutes? Money in minutes? Money, oh yeah!
You could get
When I was 10 years old, I stayed at home by myself for the first time while my parents went out for a date. I was really into horror movies, so my imagination ran wild, so I had every light on in the house. I was scared, honestly, but not so much due to the lights. My parents told me they would be back by 10, so I wasn't really worried. I had food, blockbuster movies to watch, and my favorite game, Manhunt, on my PS2. By the way, this was 2004. It started to get dark outside when all of a sudden a storm hit. Then the lights went out. As soon as it happened, I ran into our living room near the front of the house with my flashlight. I was definitely afraid now. I decided to get under the covers on the couch. I tried to fall asleep, but I was so afraid I couldn't. I don't know why, but I peeked out from under the covers, and I swear, I saw the silhouette of a man in the corner of the room. I jumped back under my covers, breathing heavily. Then all I heard was slow, methodical footsteps. They were coming toward me. Then I heard whispering along with the footsteps. My heart was pumping out of my chest at this point. Then the sound stopped. I just laid there frozen. No sound. I got up and ran out of the house because it felt like someone touched my arm. And I know I heard someone yell the word go. I pretty much ran out of the house with the blanket over my head. I ran to my neighbor's house. I told them what happened and they called the cops from their cell phones. My parents arrived a little later than they expected due to bad traffic. They seemed angry about what happened. The police say that there was no evidence of a break-in. I still to this day remember that feeling of fear, but I really don't know if it were my imagination or not.
Bro, like that's supposed to be scary.
Back during the summer of 2011, a few friends and I decided to organize a little camping trip to a forest just a few miles outside our hometown. Delamere Forest, despite being pretty small, presented us with a much-needed opportunity to connect with nature. City living can be good, but it can be stifling. so any chance to get out into the countryside was well received. But as time went by, and the date of the camping trip approached, things began to unravel. One by one, various friends called and texted to inform us that they wouldn't be attending. Be it family illness, lack of cash, or just laziness, in the end, there was only 2 of us that actually decided to go. So early on a sunny summer morning, we boarded the train for the journey down to the forest. The weather was perfect. A cloudless sky with a light breeze that made the hike through the woods not nearly as oppressive as we were expecting. It didn't take long for us to find a decent spot in the shade that happened to be right next to a stream we could use for washing and drinking water. The only trouble was the spot was very open, visible to passerbys and not the least bit subtle. So it's late afternoon. We're tired from our hike and we decided to build a fire to cook some dinner on. But here's the thing. Building a small fire is an essential part of camping, sure, but it attracts people. The smell of burning wood and the cooking food, the smoke. Sometimes you might as well be announcing yourself to the whole forest with a megaphone or something. But we know this, so we're not exactly surprised when a group of locals stumbles across our little camp and comes down to say hello. They seem friendly enough at first, and this might sound paranoid, but the whole time I just had this bad feeling about them. It fascinates me how human instinct can pick up things like that. Little clues in body language or speech that leads us to believe that someone isn't being entirely genuine.
A little sick, guys, not
I
gonna
wasn't sure if it was the way the locals were looking at each other or the strange, probing questions they asked, but I knew they didn't have the best of intentions. When they moved on and were out of earshot, my friend suggested we move the camp. Now he's normally the skittish one who I'm perennially telling to calm down or chill out, but on this occasion I knew he was right. Maybe we were being a little bit paranoid, but in instances such as that, it's always better to be safe than sorry. So as tired and half drunk as we were, we packed up our stuff, doused the fire, and then started looking for another place to set up camp. Luckily, we found somewhere pretty quick. A heavily wooded hill that basically overlooked our old campsite on one side. Not that we had a direct view of it, but if you walked a minute or so away from camp, we had a pretty good view of the surrounding area. At least we did during the daytime. As the sun set, we started another fire, cooked ourselves up some ramen noodles in our mess tins, then proceeded to drink and smoke ourselves stupid. We talked nonsense around the fire until we were too tired and drunk to continue, then retired to our poncho shelters for the night. I'm pretty sure I passed out as soon as I got into my sleeping bag, as I don't remember drifting off or anything. I just know that the next thing I can recall is opening my eyes in pitch darkness to the sound of a distant car revving its engine. At first I was just annoyed to be woken up. The hangover was kicking in hard, and I felt like boiled feces as I tried to fall back asleep. But the distant vehicle kept revving its engine, and as the sound grew louder and louder, I knew it was getting closer. Something told me to go and check it out by the time I started to hear voices. It might have been just a bunch of kids taking a stolen car for a spin, but like I said, sometimes it's better to be safe than sorry. But when I go to the edge of the hill, I can already see torch beams all over our old campsite. The revving engine was from a vehicle that had been driven all the way down the forest path to our previous camp. Someone was down there, looking for us. I think I acted more out of instinct than anything else, moving as quickly and quietly as I could back to my sleeping friend to wake him up. I must have explained what I'd seen like 2 or 3 times. He was just as exhausted and half-drunk as I was, but when it sank in, he was up on his feet with me and helping to kick during fire.
So should I go wrap these?
We then grabbed a pair of binoculars we were carrying with us, and then ran back to the edge of the hill to watch the scene below. In utter horror, we could see what was in the men's hands, thanks to the torches that they shone on one another. Baseball bats, hammers, and a length of rope were just a few of the things they carried. They spat and cursed, furious that they'd come back too late to catch us to do God knows what. All we had were our Swiss Army knives to defend ourselves with. With one person keeping watch, The other went back to camp to
Now,
pack
could I
their
eat
gear
any
as
more at
fast
the
as they
moment?
could.
Probably not. But I enjoyed Michael's amazing cooking. He made those brownies completely from scratch, and he also made the pizza rolls completely from scratch.
Yep, I'm a fucking god. And then Gordon Ramsay up in my kitchen.
Better than Gordon Ramsay.
I'm about to play.
And that's facts, guys. Well, that's going to conclude this video. I hope y'all enjoyed, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.